everyone, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me wrapping up the books that I read in the month of March, and I read a total of 4 books out of the, I think, 10 or something books that I had on my list originally. I had 8 books on my list, so I wasn't far off from 10. So yeah, I read 4 of them, so about like halfway through, which is to be expected considering I was out of town for an entire week and I didn't have a lot of time to read. So with that 4 being said, let's get into it, because somehow I know I am going to talk a lot still, and this is going to be drawn out to like 20 minutes for 4 books. So that's a very on-brand thing for me. I'm going to start this off with the ARC that I received, so thank you for Nat Galley for giving this ARC to me, and this book is already out. It came out March 24th, and that book is Empress of Salt and Fortune by Niveau. This is a novella following, it's a little hard to explain, so I'm just going to read the synopsis. So this is about a classic, it kind of follows the visuals of a classic period drama, following the anger of a woman. A young royal from far north is sent south for a political marriage. Alone and sometimes reviled, she has only her servants on her side. This evocative debut chronicles her rise to power through the eyes of her handmaiden, at once feminist, high fantasy, and thrilling indictment of monarchy. This is also LGBT and also own voices for the Asian rep. So I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. I think this was a solid debut. I really enjoyed kind of the visuals that were coming along with it. My biggest thing is that since we were being told about the entire situation from a very distant perspective, we were told about it from her handmaiden, and then the handmaiden was telling someone else and trying to have them interpret what they were trying to put out there. So since we were being told from the handmaiden's perspective, and then the handmaiden was telling someone else and kind of letting her interpret things and asking her what she thought, there was a bit of distance from the overall story, and I couldn't really get a feel for the characters. This was a very character-driven story too as well, so it was a little hard to really enjoy the story considering how separated I was from the actual narrative. But I enjoyed it, 3 out of 5 stars. I'd recommend it. I think it's a strong debut and I can't wait to see what Nii comes out with in the future. And again, thank you Nat Galley for giving me my first ever ARC, and I cannot wait to review the rest of the ARCs that I have waiting on my shelf. The next book is actually a 2020 release, and that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is a YA urban fantasy, and it's like, I'm trying to avoid the glare, but I don't think it's possible. And this is the next generation spin-off of the Infernal Devices series, set in Edwardian London, where we follow Will and Tessa's children as they kind of traverse their way through the shadow world and this kind of set of new bad guys that they have to face. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I have an entire vlog of this down below that I will leave linked, as well as any other reviews and Goodreads stuff that I have linked for these books as well, which should be up soon, hopefully. I really enjoyed this book. Like I had said in my vlog, I think Cassie Clare's writing just keeps getting better and better and better and better as we go along throughout the years. And as a reader, it makes me very happy to be fortunate enough to see that progression continue on. As someone who has been following her writing since, I think, around the time that City of Lost Souls was published, I finally got into the Shadow World. I binged the entire The Mortal Instruments series, because shortly after I finished that, I graduated high school, and then Heavenly Fire came out, and then binged the Infernal Devices. So it's been a ride with Cassie, and I love seeing her writing mature and become even better over the years, and it's just been a pleasure. I love this book. I think the plot was really well done. My friends Andrea and Lisa and I had a group chat where we were just trying to discuss it, and it was a lot of theories, and somehow we were right on some of them. I love the characters. I think that Cassie did a wonderful job of giving us diversity and making the characters not only giving us POC rep with Cordelia Carstairs, but also the amount of LGBT rep that we have. And a lot of people had complained about it, which is like, please get your homophobia off my timeline. Because it seemed unrealistic, and Cassie had pointed out that it's not unrealistic. LGBT stories have always been around, and they have just been erased and taken out of the narrative. So you're not being an ally by saying that there's too much or it's too heavy-handed, because you don't actually know, because those stories don't exactly get the spotlight. So I really like that kind of form of allyship in there, and I like seeing all these characters who are LGBT, like, see myself in a sense on page with this kind of rep. My biggest problem with this is that there were too many Lightwoods. I haven't read any of the Ghost of the Shadow Market, and then I think, yeah, I haven't read anything from Ghost of the Shadow Market, so I have really no idea what's going on with some of the Lightwoods in here. But there were too many Lightwoods, and there wasn't like a point of reference on the back or the front that kind of told me like who belongs to whose household. And since sometimes we got a lot of characters introduced all at once. It was also kind of difficult to figure out who was who and who belonged to who. Like, Lisa even made a chart and we were still just very confused the entire time. But on the bright side, I did pick up on who was who eventually. I just think that maybe it would have been nice to have seen a family tree, since these are next generations and like there's a lot of them, and not having the concept of like who belongs to which family is very confusing, and just, it's a time. But I really enjoyed it and I can't wait for Chain of Iron to come out, especially with that plot twist that happened at the end. And like, PSA, I love Matthew Fairchild. Matthew Fairchild is probably like my spirit animal. He loves Oscar Wilde. He's just a precious little bean. And then Anna Lightwood, I would die for Anna Lightwood, you guys. Like, quite literally, like, she could step on my heart and break it in two, and I'd still be like, okay, thank you for the experience. Actually, I'd cry, but I'd still be grateful for the experience that Anna Lightwood even graced me with her presence. So, there's that. The next book that I read during the month of March is Poisoned in Light by Ben Alderson. This is the concluding book to the Dragori trilogy, and here we follow, well, if you guys don't know, the Dragori trilogy follows Zachariah as he is kind of taken to this fictional world. It's a high fantasy where he is taken from his home to be part of the king's shapeshifter army, because there are shapeshifter elves, but he doesn't quite fit in that category. And during his attempt to kind of avoid being spot in the limelight and getting attention put on himself, he gains the attention of Prince Hadrian, and things ensue from there. I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars, though low-key, now that I'm thinking about it, I might drop it down to a 4.5. I did enjoy it. I liked how it wrapped everything up, and it made sense according, like, Ben is not afraid to kill people off. He's not. And I admire him for that. I'm grateful for that. My heart broke a million pieces for that, but I'm grateful for the fact that he is one of those authors who are not afraid to take down like some of his own characters, his own well-loved characters. I genuinely enjoyed it. I think that there were, it wrapped up Hadrian and Zachariah's love story pretty well. It gave them some closure. It wrapped up the plot line of this like evil king really nicely, but sometimes I feel like there were aspects that weren't built up and were kind of thrown in there. Like, there were instances where they get an army to like fight off the bad guy, but somehow the army wasn't like built up properly in the second book, and it didn't like continue on out. Like, it was weird because it's like there were some build up and there wasn't build up, and then the parts that needed the build up didn't get it. I don't think that made much sense. Let me try again. There were parts that I feel like needed more build up that didn't really get it. They seem to have played a big role, and I would have liked to have seen either the build up to have happened or for that part to be cut off entirely. And there were also instances where I felt like it was a little odd for this part to be introduced, and I feel like there wasn't enough build up for me to enjoy it with the book. And it's like a lot thicker than the last two books, which is fine because it's the concluding book in the entire trilogy, but there are still instances where I was like, I don't think that bit was necessary. So I'm a little torn. I still love this series, and I think it's one of my favorites of 2020. I will recommend this series till I die, but I think I am torn between giving it a 4.5 or a 5, and I'm sure my Goodreads review, when I actually get down to like writing it, which is probably going to be like tonight, it'll explain a bit more of my thoughts. And the last book that I read for the month of March is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a YA high fantasy following the Grisha. It's a spin-off of the original Grisha trilogy, and we follow this group of characters, some of them are Grisha, some are not, who go on a heist. They are trying to break someone out of prison. I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. I think that this is a definite step up from the original Grisha trilogy. We all know I had issues with that one. I also have a full vlog of me reading this book down below. I definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a step up from the original Grisha trilogy. I think it got a lot darker, and I can see where everyone's saying that the Grisha like verse is a pretty dark situation. There was like a scene where Kaz was torturing someone, and I had just eaten lunch, and there was a bit where I talk about it in my vlog. The writing has definitely stepped up a bit. I think that Leigh Bardugo, in terms of YA, can write third person really well, but I don't think she has a knack for writing first person. I think first person, when she was writing from Melina's perspective, we lost a little bit of kind of the world, but with third person, she kind of got to zoom out and explain everything, and I could picture this world and the magic system a lot more easily. I pictured the world it was easier to picture the world. I love the characters from this one. I think they're a lot more fleshed out and have a lot more motivations and backstory to them than the original set of characters from the Grishaverse. I'm very excited and I'm super happy that I got a chance to read this book. I'm picking up Six of Crows for this month of April, so keep an eye out for that vlog, which should be coming up sometime soon. Highly recommend, and I can definitely see why everyone loves the duology so much and the hype around this duology. The road to getting to this book was well worth it, sort of. But that is it for all the books that I read during the month of March. Again, not a huge bunch, considering my past few have been like 5 or 6 books and this one's like a nice 4. If you guys have read these books, let me know down below. We can have a nice discussion, all that fun stuff. Like I said, any booktubers, any vlogs or reviews that I have mentioned in this video will be listed down below as well, so you guys can go ahead and check those out. Until next time, hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys in the comments and on my social media. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!